Hello and welcome, friends. My name is Forenci. Welcome back. We're going to take some time today. If you're not familiar, in my channel, I think grew up on KSP. That's where most of my subscribers came from. And so that's why I'm covering this, even though it is super late. But I thought maybe some folks that like Kerbal Space Program that are subscribed to the channel might be kind of interested in maybe just me getting really, really excited for this game. If you're not familiar, it is exciting times within the Kerbalnaut world as KSP2 has been announced. If you haven't seen the trailer, the cinematic trailer, or some of like the dev story stuff that they kind of covered, really, really cool. Totally highly recommend you go watch that. I'm showing the trailer in the background, which is cool, but there's the music. I don't think I have permission to replay that track, that really cool audio and music that they have in the background. So definitely go watch it. I did want to take some time to kind of maybe cover some of the features. This is just kind of a chance for me to be really, really excited, because it does seem like KSP2 is a true sequel, right? It looks like there is a lot of really cool stuff that they're adding here, and you can kind of see on screen. Again, these are just some of the ones that they've kind of highlighted. I know there's other things they've kind of mentioned. They're basically, from what I understand, they're basically kind of building the game up, basically just from scratch almost. Lots of new code, so hopefully they said performance will be a lot better, things like that, things that we had issues in the original Kerbal Space Program. But I did want to go over some of the main features. This is from the Steam page. And so I'm pretty excited to just kind of cover this. And we'll just pause the video here as we kind of talk about them. The first being improved onboarding for Kerbal Space Program 2, which is a really cool thing. I think this will be really underrated. Obviously, for maybe those of us who are professional Kerbonauts. No, I mean, there's always things that you can grow in and improve in Kerbal Space Program. So I think I'm sure there's something that everyone can learn from this, but I think this is really important. I think Kerbal Space Program kind of suffered from a reputation of being really, 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 really hard, and it is because physics is, of course, unforgiving, astrophysics in particular. But yeah, and so hopefully if this tutorial system, it mentions animated tutorials, improved UI, all these really cool things. Hopefully if those things are fixed and really improved, then hopefully, like a lot of my friends I know that are interested in Kerbal and have played it, but sometimes they struggle with, because I mean, unless you sometimes do a really deep dive into the science and the things that are happening within the game, you might not, it might be really hard to appreciate and kind of get into. So hopefully that will kind of help there. It mentions, next-gen technology, of course referring not to the game necessarily being, a next-gen console, but like just next-generation technology in terms of the space hardware, which is really cool. It mentions, when we watch the rest of the trailer, you'll see some of the things like, metallic hydrogen. It looks like, things that will enable interstellar travel, which is really, really, really cool. And they're supposed to be like semi-potentially realistic, which is really cool. So we like that. That's a really cool thing, and I'm really excited for that. So hopefully we'll get to see some of that, that really cool stuff that you would get usually in mods in the original KSP, coming to stock, which sounds wonderful. This next feature I'm super excited about, because I spent a lot of time in Kerbal Space Program, and I wish I had done like a series or like a mod overview, but it was such a big kind of mod pack. By Rover Dude, which KSP Colonies with a K, and like all the kind of like mods surrounding that, having colonies and having to like care for your Kerbals and like make sure they live, and habitats. So the fact that they're bringing this into the base game is a huge feature, and I'm really excited, and hopefully that will be really clean. They mentioned habitations and building structures. It's going to be kind of similar to almost like being in like the VAB, but for building structures, which is just really cool. And it mentions even being able to, I believe, being able to make pads, make your own like pad, like a new pad, say like on another world entirely, which is that's so freaking cool. I just cannot wait to see that. Just launching and building up enough to where you could have like a base of operations off the moon or Minmus. That is really going to enable making, because getting off Kerbal is pretty hard relatively compared to like say the moon. I always like doing the moon just because I think it's kind of fun. Minmus can be fun too because the gravity is so low. You can basically just get in for free, so to speak. But that's going to be really, really exciting. I'm really exciting. I'm curious to see if there's going to be like habitation, like issues, or do we have to feed our Kerbals? I really hope so because that was for me always like fun when I was playing around with mods, having to like keep them alive. So hopefully Colonies kind of keeps going with that. The next thing they mentioned is interstellar travel. Again, this is crazy, and I am curious to see how far this is going to go. Because that's interstellar. Is it going to be? They mention, leaving the. I think it's called the Kerbaler. I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly, but we're probably leaving that system, heading out to face new challenges, and there's going to be new worlds and planets. Things that have like a super Earth with relentless gravity. That sounds really, really fun and cool and interesting. Kind of like an Eve, but maybe more livable, which would be really cool. Rask and Rusk, these binary pair locked, together. This sounds so cool, but I'm curious if it's going to be like how that's all going to kind of play out. Obviously, we travel to, I assume, another solar system. And, is there more than one solar system? Is it procedurally generated where there's multiple? It doesn't sound like that. It sounds like there's probably just maybe one other solar system, and maybe in like DLCs or something like that, which is kind of the model they're going for, it sounds like, in this game. We'll get some other stuff too, which will be really cool. So hopefully that is the case, and hopefully we can see some really cool stuff. With modding, obviously modders have played a big factor in that. I'm sure they will come up with multiple solar systems. And here I've saved the best for last, and that is multiplayer modding, right? Modding obviously made Kerbal Space Program, gave me a little bit of popularity, I guess, on a completely, with mods. But oh my gosh, and this is the thing. In Kerbal Space Program 1, they promised. Well, I guess they didn't promise. They said there was probably going to be multiplayer added, but it never came to fruition. But it is coming to Kerbal Space Program 2. It is listed as a, I guess, launch type features. We've kind of seen some of it already, potentially from some of the other videos that have been kind of popping up from various conferences and things like that. So it sounds really, really exciting. Just to be able to have that opportunity, and really hopefully just multiplayer just opens up so many cool things, like building a colony with your friends, building space stations with your friends, just having space races if you want to get like competitive with it could be really, really fun and interesting. There's just so many things that I think this game, and I'm biased, I love multiplayer in pretty much every game. I love a good single player RPG and things like that, don't get me wrong, but for a sandbox game, which KSP is, multiplayer I think is just, it's so awesome, it's so needed, and so I'm really excited for it. And hopefully we'll get to see like a lot of that, I can't even imagine the possibilities. I just love the idea of like setting up a moon base with your buddies, and building it up, and then hopefully from the moon, maybe you get like a self-sustaining station up where you can build rockets from it. And then you can launch out into the rest of the system, maybe get a colony up on Duna or other places, and then eventually go to other galaxies. There's just so many cool things that I'm just genuinely excited for, and I cannot wait to see what we can kind of get from it. Pretty exciting stuff. And we're gonna go ahead and take a look back and kind of keep the video rolling. The cinematic trailer it's not incredibly long, but it does reveal actually quite a bit. Obviously, again, this is not gameplay. And I can assure you this game, it will probably look a lot better than the original Kerbal Space Program in stock, but I am certain it's not going to look this good. But you can see some of the cool things that are kind of happening throughout, which is really, really cool. You can see like new forms of propulsion, like nuclear bombs propulsing Orion, just propulsing things forward, which is really cool. Really, really cool to see. Totally things that I am just not familiar with, although I'm sure people that are much smarter than I am. So definitely some really cool stuff. And I guess you could see maybe that super Earth they were talking about. You could see just a lot of the really cool things that are kind of going on here within the game. And just this is really cool getting to see like potentially like the colonies, which is really, really fun and interesting to kind of check out. You can see things exploding. I love that they got that right about Kerbal Space Program. Like, things explode in Kerbal Space Program, but you can see the biodomes, I assume. I'm curious like how this is going to kind of factor in. And yeah, I'm so excited for this. I think they're getting so many features into this game, and it's just absolutely incredible and so exciting. And I will see you guys next time in 2020.